This podcast represents the opinions of Tyler Barber and his guests to the show. This podcast is not intended to be a substitute for the medical advice of a licensed counselor or physician. The listener should consult with a mental health professional in any matters relating to their health or the health of a child. This is the Mayo Lab Podcast with Tyler Barber.
Welcome back, guys, to the Mayo Lab Podcast. We are here today with Bre'Anna Coleman, and she's going to tell us a little bit more about her experiences at Ole Miss. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Doing great. So could you tell me, how did you get to Ole Miss?
Wow, I have to think back. Funny story. When I was probably in like early middle school, late elementary, I told my dad, I was like, I want to be a lawyer. And I looked up schools in Mississippi who had like good law school programs, and it was this one. So I've kind of always been set on the University of Mississippi, specifically for like law, and the curriculum.
Cool.
I felt like it would challenge me.
Yeah. So did you are you here for law? Like, is that what you decided to go with? Did you stick it out?
Honestly, it's funny how like tables turn. I feel like since I've gotten here and I've gotten to know myself more, still interested in law, but I feel like now I'm much more open to like other paths and pouring into kind of like my other passions as well.
I gotcha. So what are you majoring in now?
Political science and interdisciplinary studies major, and my minors are journalism, creative writing, and African American studies.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, I always tell people a lot of the course credits go over, so like it sounds super impressive, but I'm always like, guys, I promise, like, it's okay.
I bet it looks good on the resume though.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So we know about your passions now. So tell me a little bit more about you.
It's funny whenever people like ask about me, I just forget. 22, from Drew, Mississippi. I always tell people Mississippi Delta, born and raised. Didn't really get to see things outside of the Mississippi Delta until I came to the University of Mississippi.
Yeah.
I have around like 8 sisters.
Wow.
I know, right?
Yeah, that's
my
a
mom,
lot.
I always call her like the breadwinner of the family before like her and my father got divorced. She was kind of like the Mrs. Go Get It.
Okay.
So, and then my father is blind. He's disabled.
Gotcha. So would you say that your mom's mentality kind of transferred onto all of you guys? Are y'all all like trying to be the breadwinner now?
I would say in our own ways, yes. I feel like I kind of took after like both my mom and my dad, but from like my mom, I definitely do have that like Miss Independent.
Yeah.
That probably explains all of like my minors, because people are like, oh my gosh, that's so much. And I'm like, I bet I can do it.
Yeah. A lot of drive there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about like when you got to Ole Miss. Like how did that transition go from being in the Delta to being at the university?
I'll say when I first got here, it was definitely a culture shock. Specifically going from like being somewhere where, trying to figure out how to even explain it. I feel like when I first got here, I definitely noticed how much more privileged it kind of was. I noticed kind of like the financial aspect of it.
Yeah.
Coming from somewhere where like our education system isn't as good.
Yeah.
Coming from having to kind of like educate myself outside of school and like read books so I could actually feel challenged. To kind of coming here and seeing like people in like brand new cars and kind of like very expensive clothing that they can kind of like shrug their shoulders off at, I definitely say it was a very big culture shock.
Yeah. I can relate to that a lot, actually, especially the financial aspect of like just showing up here, and it's crazy when you move away from home. Like you realize how expensive things can be. And then you go, or at least for me, I went broke. Like it was so fast because I tried to live like I was living with my parents, but I'm not with my parents anymore because, I mean, I don't know. It was weird for me as well.
I feel you. I'll definitely say like the race aspect of it took me off guard as well, because being in like the Mississippi Delta, I predominantly black high school, everybody on my block black. So it definitely was a switch going from being like in a class where there will probably be like one white person out of like a bunch of classes to like being the only black person in a bunch of classes was definitely a switch for me as well.
Yeah. I got a question for you about that, actually. When you got here, did you feel out of place, or did you just kind of feel like like you had an adjustment to have to make? Because I remember we talked like last time, like a couple of weeks ago, and you had mentioned like learning how to take up space is like one of the things that you really wanted to hammer in on. So I was just curious if that played a part.
I would definitely say, off the rip, I did notice that I was a little different. I noticed that, like, even, I guess growing up where I grew up with, like, my parents and, like, our home setup, I didn't notice there were so many of, like, my specific values that I held. So, like, one big thing for me is, like, authenticity. I don't believe in, like, watering myself or my story down for anybody. It kind of is what it is. And so I feel like getting into like classes and spaces, I had to learn, because I've always been a little shy. So it was kind of me learning how to get comfortable with my own voice and my own story, and be like, okay, if I'm sitting in a class and my story is like drastically different from everybody else's, then it's almost as if I'm supposed to be here. Because if I wasn't here, like, would you have heard a perspective like mine, or would you still be in kind of like a bubble? Yeah. So I definitely had to learn how to like be okay taking up space and be okay hearing my own voice, if that makes sense, and getting comfortable with that. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it, actually. And I got a question kind of relating to like making friends when you got here. First, I want to ask, did you know anybody when you moved here? I knew a couple of people, but I also kind of wanted to branch out from my family and from like my community. I wanted to see kind of who would I be if I was to just put myself out there and see what I could do. Yeah. So when you got here though, how did that go? How was it like when you were looking for friends, and how did that, I guess, maybe take a toll on you, like positive or negative? Like how did friends help with that? I feel like I have to think back to like then and now. Making friends is definitely like its own journey when you're in college, because I feel like so many of us, you're kind of learning yourself, and you're learning yourself outside of like the spaces that you were the most comfortable in. Yeah. So I know like personally for me, I had to figure out like, Bree, what do you like? Like, you grew up around, like, your mom, your dad, and your siblings, and, like, the culture that's present in the Mississippi Delta, but it's, like, what are you specifically passionate about? Yeah. And I feel like that in itself kind of pushed me to putting myself in different spaces to figure out what do I like. Yeah. Like, almost like, who am I? Yeah. And so I've been in, like, a bunch of student organizations, met a lot of people. I feel like the friend aspect of it, I've met like a lot of great people. There's been a lot of lessons learned, and it's really nothing that I would ever regret. And everybody I've met, I'm extremely grateful for. Yeah, that's a good answer as well. I kind of want to dive deep a little bit right quick, but you mentioned that your dad was blind. What was it like having that kind of responsibility while also being away in school? I would say, I always tell people whenever I talk about my dad, because I feel like when people hear he's blind, they think of somebody who he's not. My dad is the same way I said my mom is like Mrs. Go Get It, breadwinner. He's hard-headed and he's stubborn and he's convinced that he can do it all on his own. Yeah. And I must admit that's something that I get from the both of them. And so even like the balancing it, it has been like a large part of like my college journey, as well as like thinking back to like my two baby sisters, because I have two baby sisters back home. Yeah. And I never wanted my family or my community to feel like I kind of went off to college and I shrugged my shoulders on them. Like I wanted them to know that regardless of where I go, I still care. Yeah. So that has been a big aspect of like the going back and forth. Yeah. Because if I have to, it's an hour and 30 minutes up the road. So like it is what it is. You also mentioned last time that we talked when we were having our first meeting that when you went back home to the Delta that you were working a lot as well. How did that kind of play a part in your school experience? Yes. To tap into like the work that I do back in the Delta, a lot of it is volunteer work. So I do try to like go back, talk to like high school students. Yeah. Things of that nature, specifically because I feel like there was a lot that I didn't know before I came to college. And it's a lot that I wouldn't have known if somebody didn't reach their hand back and help me. So that's actually something that like I'm very passionate about.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, my freshman year, I got involved with like the Aspen Young Leaders Fellowship. I love the program, love the people to death.
Yeah.
The organization is really centered around helping people between the ages of 18 to 22 build kind of leadership skills, get involved in civic engagement, and learn how to you're basically helping equip them with the tools that they need to help their communities. The whole point of AYLF is to ignite kind of social change, and that's the thing that I love about it. And my freshman year, I was a senior fellow, but this year I've been honored to serve as like a youth facilitator. So I go back and I help facilitate sessions, and it genuinely is a beautiful thing to see, like over the course of the months, to see like the fellows become more comfortable with their voices, because essentially over time, like that's what happens. They start off as being very like timid because they don't know you, but over time, just seeing like how they engage with the curriculum and how they talk about the things that they're specifically passionate about, I definitely would say is very rewarding.
That's awesome. And is this program, like, is it not based in the Delta, but is it focused a lot on the Delta, or is it all around Mississippi? They
have 3 regions, and so the region that I was a part of and am a part of is the Mississippi-Arkansas region. And they specifically work like in the area, so like Helena, West Helena, Clarksdale, kind of like the Delta area, but they also have regions in Miami and Chicago. And that's another thing I love about the program. So it's like you not only get this experience of talking to kind of like other young passionate people in your community, but you also get like the cross cohort experience of like meeting somebody in Miami or meeting somebody in Chicago who's just as passionate about you. You're reading the same curriculum, and so it kind of bonds you in a way.
That's a good answer. I want to shift a little bit. I have another question for you though. This is more about like fitting back into school, like a little bit. A lot of first year students, like, or what are they called? First generation students, like people that haven't had family that are in school, and they come in they're the first one in their family to be in school. And then minority students as well will come to school, come to university, to college, and have a hard time fitting in and finding their place. So if you were to give somebody advice that were just showing up here and didn't know where to go or what to do, what would you tell them?
I would say continue being yourself. And even if you have to create a space for yourself, do that. I feel like even growing up in the Delta, like, don't get me wrong, Mississippi Delta, born and raised, but I always kind of felt like I stuck out like a sore thumb from like the things that I was interested in, music, books, like certain things that I liked. I've always kind of felt like kind of marched to the beat of my own drum. And so I feel like having that aspect of it growing there and then coming here, I always tell people, like, I kind of dipped my hand in a little bit of everything, and I kind of understood that there may be a path that you have to make for yourself. But that doesn't mean that you should, like, change yourself or, like, alter yourself to fit in. Sometimes it just means that, like, your journey is going to look a little bit different than other people, but that doesn't make it any less valuable.
You got quotes for days on this episode, I promise. That you just reminded me too when we were talking about the education system, and not just in the Delta, but just like I wanted to say I relate a little bit to that. Like when I was in high school, our high school education system was not that great, and so I was acing all of my classes in high school. I thought I was a genius. I thought I was going to Harvard. To be honest with you, I was like, I'm going to go to Harvard, and I'm not going to have to pay a dime. Like I thought that I was just super, super smart. And then I went to community college first when I got out of high school. And even community college just whooped my tail. I mean, I didn't know how to study. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. And so it is super difficult to get introduced to that and then have to teach yourself on top of learning what you're supposed to be learning to advance in college. So, I agree with you on that. And also, I have another question for you. So if you were to have an opinion on it, what would you say that universities or institutions could do to maybe help people that are feeling like they're not fitting in or feeling like they're a little bit of an outsider and maybe to try to get them into the community a little bit more?
I always tell people sometimes solutions are way more simple than you think. And it really can be just going back to like an aspect of community. Because sometimes all the student needs is to feel seen. Like, all they need is like that one faculty member that notices that like they're disengaged and they're like, hey, what's up, what's going on.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes we think, don't get me wrong, resources very beneficial, but a lot of times when a student is having like a really hard time transitioning, either getting them into a space where they can connect with other students that are kind of marching at the same pace as them and they feel that way as well, or just being a person to like reach out and be a community member and let them know, like, I see you, I'm here for you. Just because you're struggling, it doesn't mean that this isn't specifically for you. Yeah, it may just be like a little transition period that you have to go through.
Gotcha. And that's good advice. And also, I got a question about that kind of, but was anybody there for you? Like, was there a professor that kind of stood out to you and helped you get, I guess, incorporated, or was there a community that you found that really helped you, I guess, branch out when you got here?
I'll say for me, there are actually a couple of professors I really can list off. I always tell people I feel like I was blessed in the professor department. Like, I feel like I got some pretty great professors.
Yeah.
And just people that I really feel like I could connect to. So Professor Vanessa Gregory, my freshman year, she was amazing. Professor Charlotte in like the journalism department, Dr. Steele, like Dr. Dickinson, Dr. Ross. Really, the whole African American Studies department. Love them.
Yeah.
Journalism has some awesome professors. I feel like they make the transition so easy for me.
Good.
And not only that, being in like organizations like BSU, NAACP, Esteem, RASA, like tapping into like some of those passions, and being able to be around people who are just as passionate as those things as you are very, very helpful.
That's awesome. So all of those organizations that you just listed, are you like pretty highly involved in all of them?
I would say since it's been my senior year, the organization that I've been the most involved in is BSU, because I served as the president this following year. But every organization that I list, they are wonderful places. Like if someone's a freshman and they're looking for community, they're looking for like somewhere to get started, those are wonderful places to start. Gotcha.
And for anybody that doesn't know, could you tell them what BSU is and kind of like elaborate a little bit more about like what their goal is and what they do?
For sure. The Black Student Union is the umbrella organization for like minority orgs and students on campus. This year we've tried to like tap into not only like fun events like barbecues, game nights, study nights, but also tapping into like advocacy.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to allow students who are passionate about different types of like advocacy, whether that's health, whether that's civic engagement, registering students to vote. I really wanted them to be able to kind of use the organization as a platform to talk about those things. But BSU is kind of open to, honestly, whatever its organizations, whatever the organization's members need.
Yeah.
And that can look like anything. It can look like if you just want to have like open mic night for poetry. Yes. If you want to have like a little get together where you can come in and feel like a community, open to that as well. And then I also tell students, like a lot of people think since it's Black Student Union that we're not like welcoming of other people. If you want to come and support, BSU is a place that's open.
Okay, that's awesome. That sounds super beneficial too, like for everybody that's involved. And I want to shift again one more time to like kind of I guess reflectory kind of questions. I have like two of them for you. So if you could go back and tell your freshman yourself one thing, what would it be? Like if you have one piece of advice.
I was literally just journaling about this earlier today. I would say one of my biggest lessons I've had to learn since I've been here is never tell yourself no. When it comes down to applying to anything, a scholarship, a position, like putting yourself out there, I remember there are times when I would wait for people to get finished giving like speeches and I would patiently wait and walk up to them afterwards. Like, be that person. Never tell yourself no, never count yourself out. Because if you didn't get it, that just meant it wasn't for you. But if you never tried, then you'll never know whether or not it was for you or not, because you counted yourself out.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. And my last question for you is going to be, what's next for you? Like, what are you thinking after school?
I've applied to a couple of national scholarships. Fingers crossed those are actually also outlets that I encourage for like a lot of students after they graduate.
Yeah.
And even a lot of students while they're like in college. So like Boring, where you can learn like a critical language, go abroad, come back and work in the federal government. Fulbright, where you can go and either serve as like an English teaching assistant, or you can get your master's and do like research.
Yeah.
Those are kind of like the two I applied for. Great programs. And this is kind of like a side note, but even for like juniors, like the Truman Scholarship, the Truman Award, for like service and public service, I'm really big on telling students like utilize the resources that are in front of you, because I feel like a lot of students don't realize that on this campus, classes, professors, extracurricular activities, like there's so much here. And for me, it would be a shame to go a whole 4 years and not really utilize what's in front of you.
Yeah.
But to switch back into what's next for me, either like one of those two programs, and then I've also been applying for a couple of paralegal positions as well.
Cool. So you kind of like, there's a chance you might stick with the law a little bit more.
I'm going to tap into it and see, because I feel like I have a very one-sided view of what law can look like. I've learned that I love community, like outreach and community engaged types of work.
Yeah.
But there are different positions where like you can still do that and engage with law.
Yeah.
I would say I'm still kind of just finding my way, figuring out what's for me.
Yeah, I got you. Well, I mean, you have plenty of options, you know.
And
That's
a lot
awesome.
of nothing but time.
Exactly. Plenty of time as well. That's probably what you thought I was going to say at first. Yeah, you have plenty of time. Well, thank you very much for being a guest today. It's been great having you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Stay tuned, everybody, for the research report. Thank you so much for listening to the Mayo Lab podcast. We appreciate you spending time with us and being a part of the conversation. I'm Tyler Barber, and if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and share with a friend. Until next time, keep the conversation going.